Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Davidson Boswell Show. By far our biggest guest. We have Amanda Seales. You guys might recognize her from her illustrious film career, TVs and movies, but I know her best from Views from Amandaland, which is produced by Smart, Funny, and Black Productions.
That's right.
Activist, comedian, and friend Amanda Seales. Thank you for being on the show.
I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thanks so much. So, I think a lot of people that follow me also follow you, and are pretty familiar with the fact that you kind of gave up a lot of mainstream acceptance when you started advocating, particularly for Palestine. But I know you've always been outspoken about issues like imperialism, empire, Black liberation. So I wanted to ask you, what was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back that made you go, fuck the consequences, I am now going to speak out about the Palestinian struggle?
I was never not speaking out. I just didn't, it just wasn't the center of my, or it wasn't as close to the center of my consciousness.
I see. Yeah.
And then after, on October 8th, I just saw so many people who were like a part of my peer group saying things like, we stand with Israel. And I knew from talking to Dr. Mark Hill and my sister, and also from having been really educated on the Palestinian struggle in 2021, that this is not a, oh, this happened today situation. So the thing that ultimately ended up really pushing me was just, I cannot stand lies. Like I can't stand it. And I also just had already had like a growing internal distrust with what I thought I believed the American government was versus what it actually is. And then that really catapulted a deeper dive that made it impossible to not say what it is, to not just speak about Israel, but to speak about just the disinformation that we have around Democrats, around this bipartisan BS, et cetera. So it was like a whole ballooning of knowledge seeking and sharing that took place.
I see. Yeah. So that, very similar. Like, it felt like there was this pressure to speak out about and defend Israel, right, when October 7th happened.
Oh, yeah.
And I made this metaphor. It's like, this would be like if your roommate was harassing you for 20 years and then eventually you slapped him in the face. You know, it's like, all right, well, that was coming. Yes. I wanted to ask you this, though, and I think people who aren't in the industry don't understand the pressure that is put on performers, entertainers, anybody close to Hollywood to kind of toe the Zionist line, repeat Zionist talking points. Hello, dog.
Sorry. I tried to mute the mic and I was like, it's not the mic. Wait, Jordy, cut it out. Come here. You met Davidson yesterday.
Yeah. He's like, who's this man?
All right, I'm listening.
It'll die down, hopefully, or not. Who cares?
It will. He sees a dog. That's the problem.
Oh,
he sits at this window next to my mic.
Right. He's protecting the house. Yeah.
Mind you, the dog out there can't hear him. Don't know what's going on. Jordy, come here. So now he started this thing that he does where I say come here and he's like defiant.
Oh no. Rebellious teenager.
But he also understands that like come here means you have a choice.
Yeah, we'll take a brief pause.
Are you going to be quiet? Come here or be quiet. Thank you.
All right, sweet. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, does it manifest as an explicit thing that you're told? Like, I know Netanyahu has talked to high-level actors like Keanu Reeves and stuff like that, saying like, we want you telling Zionist stories, you know, in Hollywood. We want you taking those projects. Like, you know, I'm sure a lot of the reps in Hollywood have ties to Israel in some way.
Of course, yeah.
Does it come across your desk as like, hey, don't say this? Or is it just implicitly understood that if you speak out against Palestine, it's going to affect you or your career?
So I didn't even know that Zionists existed before 2021. Like, the concept of Zionism was not on my desk. But when I look back at certain conversations that were had with me, I realized, oh, that's what that was.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, like, I remember I had this one manager for like literally 2 months, and she was not doing anything. I mean, she literally had a lunch with me, and at the end of the lunch was like, okay, so I'll be taking 20% of your earnings for moving forward. And I was like, okay. And, you know, part of me said, well, maybe she was so earnest because she already knows what she's going to do. But then she just like subsequently showed that she wasn't going to do anything. So then I eventually had a call with her and said, you know, this is actually not going to work for me. So I'm actually going to dissolve this relationship because it just isn't working for me. And she got very offended that I was saying it wasn't working for me. And I was like, but you're literally not doing anything. And it's been 2 months and I haven't even seen you since we had our lunch. And I said something to the effect of, I mean, that's just not kosher. And she tried to flip that and tell me that I was being anti-Semitic.
I see. Yeah. You got your first taste of that.
Yeah. And then, you know, Nick Cannon, he had a whole scenario go down where he had a brother on his podcast and he was asking questions about the Rothschild. And then it turned into, well, you are no longer working at MTV and you need to kiss the ring. And they like took Wildin' Out from him and all of this stuff. And like, even that was one of those things where it was like, okay, I can see that this is a thing that's off, but I can't really put my finger on like how to actually challenge it, because at that time you're still so afraid of, and I think it's more about them holding anti-Semitism over your head than Zionism.
I see. Yeah.
So it's less about there being like an overt, you need to uphold Zionism conversation. However, there is a very overt, you cannot even have a whiff of anti-Semitism. And you come to find out that, well, what that's involved in is questioning anything that Jewish people are involved in, questioning anything having to do with Israel, acknowledging anything Palestinian, etc. And none of those things are anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I remember when Kyrie Irving shared a documentary on his Twitter, no commentary on it at all. And the entire NBA came down on him. And they also were demanding that other Black athletes come down on him too.
Yes.
And no one did. They're like, we don't fucking care. You know,
right.
This is your fight. And you see, and it seemed like an overreaction at the time. I was like, yeah, that movie's not accurate. You know what I mean? But it's like that. Why is he being pilloried so much? And you see how just like reflexive they are to, and by they, I don't mean Jewish people. I mean Hollywood in general. Zionisms,
yes.
Zionists.
But even the fact that you felt like you needed to qualify that just now.
Right.
Yeah. Like you shouldn't feel like you need to qualify that. Like at the end of the day, the folks who have created this conflation are Zionists.
Yes. And the ADL works overtime to be like, we have enormous power, toe the line, or we'll destroy you financially, essentially. So,
like the head of the ADL was on Breakfast Club, like at least 2 times.
Oh
yes,
Charlemagne, what are you doing?
But that's the thing. Like, I think that for what it's worth, maybe he does now, but I don't believe he knew what he was doing then. You know, like I feel like they had really successfully integrated themselves into this comfort space of victimhood that particularly Black people would respect. Right. And it was October 7th that actually blew the lid off of that, because there was they had an over expectation that everyone would just go along with it. And it was really Gen Z that was like, now hold on a minute.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I know. They've been screwed their whole lives. They're like, we're not going to take this lying down too. You know what I mean? Like, don't expect us to also watch genocide happen and pretend like it's not. Yeah. So switching gears a little bit, you had this amazing event yesterday where you hosted essentially a salon at your house. I will not be giving the address out on the show. But it was so cool. You had all these like artists, intellectuals, and even people from your childhood come, and we all kind of gathered around, ate some food, and then we talked about kind of the current political moment we're in right now. And I thought a sticking point in the discussion was the role of shame in bringing people on board to the struggle, right? There's a lot of people who use ignorance as an excuse, maybe sometimes,
Yeah.
to not weigh in on these topics, not go to protests, not try and educate themselves further. And they just, they feel maybe overwhelmed. And
Mm-hmm.
we were kind of debating about the fact that, like, is public shaming an effective way to get people? Because we're going to need people to abandon the Democratic Party in order to have the revolution, So how do you view shame in the upcoming kind of like war we're going to have to fight to win collective liberation? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. Throughout my entire life, I can say consistently, there has been a trend of me coming at folks correctly,
Mm-hmm.
right? And them ignoring me.
Right. Yeah.
And then when I shame them, I get their attention.
Interesting.
And this has been in personal life, in business, in all realms. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's shame, period, right? But I do think that it is a useful tool for actually like bringing people to the table who normally would feel like, oh yeah, I don't want to be bothered with that, because
Right.
their defenses have now been triggered, right?
Yeah.
And if you're savvy enough, then it's like, okay, now that I've got you, like how people do when their Twitter goes viral. Now that I've got you, here's my band's independent album. Like that's essentially what would happen. I can tell you that there's people on my Instagram all the time who say, I really didn't like what you were saying, but they still come back. They would still come back.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And now they're like, I'm so glad I stayed.
Yes.
Because now I get it.
Right. I know that there was a lot of people who commented, and some people who follow me that were like, I didn't know how to take your brashness at first. I thought you were being rude. And I was like, well, yeah, but the time for nicety is over.
It's done.
Right? Yeah. The ice is at your door, So that's why, the urgency, I feel like, is why shame is effective. I've kind of, because we were talking about it being situational at the salon yesterday, like you got to judge. And there are some people who are too far gone. I don't know, neo-Nazis, right? You don't need to like be,
yeah.
like
Proud Boys, like yeah.
But
even Zionists, like right. I'm not trying to have a conversation with a Zionist to convert them. No.
If you think of other types of people as lesser than you, then you're not going to be on our team, then. But there are convincible people out there that need the kick in the pants. They need to be like, listen, aren't you ashamed of yourself? That's why I think what Miss Rachel's doing is so powerful right now. It's like, aren't you?
She's
ashamed?
Literally doing it. Like she is deploying it, and where she's deploying it to is the people who really actually think they're Christian, or really actually think that they're quote unquote like what their definition of liberal is. I'm a good person who cares about the world, and the political definition of liberal is not that at all.
No, yeah. It gets conflated with like Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. You're like, no, that's not
it.
So that's that kind of leads me to my next thing. And that's what you want kind of the revolution to look like. A lot, Zoran Mamdani just won, but we have a congressperson in office right now that's the sole congress woman for DC. She's 88 years old, and she has not said one thing about what's happening in Washington, D.C. now.
Come on.
So I wanted to ask you how you feel about kind of the ballot or the bullet type distinction here, because I do think it is good to elect socialists, right? I think that is. So do you think in the meantime, until we have the revolution that we need to have, should people invest their time in electoral politics, or do you think that era is over and people need to engage in a more militant style of organizing and pushing for change through, strikes, things like that?
Well, I just think that ultimately there's what I want, and then there's what's practical in terms of practical is not even the word, but what's reality, right? Like we're in a nation where I am daily trying to convince people that Barack Obama should be out working for them right now.
Right. Yeah.
Like I'm having to convince them.
Yeah. They think that he deserves to sail off into the sunset and be a billionaire.
They think that about Kamala Harris. Right. They're like, she's done. She's a private citizen. She shouldn't be expected to do anything. I'm like, I'm talking about Bill Clinton, Hillary, all of these people should be working against what's happening now. And if they're doing stuff in the background, whatever, fine. It should also be loud, because these people have been deified and made into icons, etc., when they're really actually, tools of the establishment. Like, they got us here. And there is going to be, I think, beyond like the ballot or the bullet, there's a spiritual warfare that's happening within us, where people are going to have to say, okay, what is the real way that I can like put my energy in a honest way towards shifting this? And I think for a lot of people right now, the concept of radical resistance is so far like outside their realm
They
that
don't get hit with a nightstick, They're like,
no, like their idea of radical resistance is like, what if we voted
for Kamala in 2028?
Yeah, like that's like radical, so we have work to do. I mean, I'm a quick learner, right? So like, I'm somebody who, my mom always says I can take a note. Like, I am best idea wins. So like, it didn't take any like amount of time really for me to grasp like, oh, we need to be moving towards a leftist, socialist, Black radical mindset. Because once it was made aware to me, it was like, well, duh, like that's obvious, right? Like, I didn't feel the need to argue it in order to uphold some sense of safety for my like ego and identity. But a lot of people do.
Yeah. And that's the frustrating part about it, is what appears to you to be obvious is often a huge mental hurdle in a lot of people's minds. Like they have to completely deconstruct themselves. So
like, I have this episode of Surrounded, right?
Yeah.
Where it's one Black radical versus 20 Black conservatives. And I got a note from the network Jubilee that like, they've got people in their comments that are mad at them for calling me radical. And so like, it's imperative that I clarify what a radical is and, all this stuff. So that these people, do not feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
infantilized? I don't know.
I don't know. And so like, I see this as a teaching moment, which is fine. But even the fact that there's so many people that don't even know about radicalism, whether it's couched in Black radicalism or not, they don't even know about it as a framework to live by.
Right. So you really have to like go back to square one and be like, all right, do you believe that George Washington was a good person? You know what I mean? Like, there's like, you really have to break things down. So I guess I just have like two more questions for you. The first one being, because I have a lot of like young followers and they're looking to start down this path. What were like some books that you read when you were young that started like really expanding your consciousness and your mind towards liberation, and particularly books that are either short or punchy, or you know what I mean, like something that people could sink their teeth into that isn't so theory heavy? Because I feel like a lot of people just don't know where to begin.
So honestly, the autobiography of Frederick Douglass is a good place to start. He is not using a lot of big words. He's not giving a lot of confusing concepts. He's speaking about his life as a slave, and then as someone who escaped slavery. And he's speaking about it basically in the context of, boy, you guys got to hear this story. Like, it's done in a very informal way for what he went through. However, a lot of us do not learn enough about abolitionism and about the abolitionist movement. We learn about the civil rights movement. We learn about, slavery and Harriet Tubman, but we miss that mindset of somebody who has found their freedom and then has to find a way into organizing to keep their freedom. Right.
It's an ongoing struggle,
Yes.
We didn't.
Like, we didn't inherit freedom. We inherited a fight for freedom. Like, that's what it is.
And is there maybe one more that you can think of? Yeah.
Howard Zinn, The People's History of the United States.
It starts with Christopher Columbus. It's like, oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to get into it. Like, he takes off running 0 to 100. And even though it's like one of these books where I wouldn't necessarily say it's dense in that like it's a lot of theory and concepts, and it's more so just you have so much truth coming at you,
Yeah.
that you may have to like pause and think. Right.
Yes.
And so that's the thing. I think it's less about it being like overwhelming because you can't grasp it, and more about it being like, oh, let me just take a moment to sit with this and to think about how I may have been taught differently about this. Let me take a moment to think about how this makes me feel, and learning this, how this makes me feel. And then let me take another moment to maybe like look this up, maybe hit up DuckDuckGo and say, now let me learn more about this. There's so much, not just information at our fingertips, but inspiration at our fingertips.
Yes, truly. Yeah.
And that is where I would love for folks, especially young folks, to start putting their energy. And I would also suggest, tell your parents. You know what I learned? And if they are not responsive in the way you want them to be, don't even stress yourself. You are building a bridge to those who have come before you, who have done so much work and put so much effort out in their time and space to allow for there to be time and space for you to live.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's like you don't have to be what your parents want you to be. You know what I mean? Like if it's rang in your chest as false for your whole life, it probably is,
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right, this is the last one. This is very easy.
Okay.
What are you working on that you're excited about? What do you want people to look out for? Where can we see you, and what's coming next? Yeah.
So I have this one woman show called What Would the Ancestors Say? Davidson has come to see one of the workshops. Yeah. And I've been developing it for a year now, and I've been doing free productions of it every first Saturday at the People's Forum in Manhattan on 37th between 8th and 9th in New York City. And I decided that I want to actually publish the script.
Oh, cool.
However, I have never written it.
Oh, okay.
I do the whole show off the top of my head.
Right.
So like there's bullet points, but like I've never actually written it. And so I started the process of writing it. And something about that writing process really makes you say, I got to get tighter. I got to get sharper.
Yeah, that's so true.
Mm-hmm. And so like as a comic, like I never wrote my jokes as a comic. I would always write them once I knew this is funny.
Right. Yeah. I'm similar. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I will write them only after I've gotten like, I've got a punchline. I've got 3 tags. Now I'm going to write it down and memorialize it. So what would the ancestors say? I'm going to release a published script on November 8th. And you're going to have to come see the show again, because you're going to be like, oh, wow, she's taking this to a whole other level.
Yes.
In terms of her specificities, in terms of the history telling, in terms of the characters. Like I've really found it now. And I believe in this project. I believe in it so sincerely as a piece of work for the times. Not for the time. Yeah. For the times. And I feel like we've gotten so stuck in only upholding those of the great names of Toni Morrison and Alice Walker. And we should. Mm-hmm. But we forget to continue to create and lift up names in our present day.
Totally. Yeah.
And especially things are so oversaturated now. I think we've gotten a little bit too overcomfortable with that. So I hope to be able to put this on paper and bring it out to the world in a way where folks can recognize it as one of those in alignment with those works that have come before. So you can go to amandaseals.com and check out everything else I've got going on, as well as my Wednesday show, Views from Amanda Land. I do it every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. And it's YouTube Amanda Seals TV. It's a 4-hour show. I used to do it every day, but it was killing me. So now I do it once a week.
Wow.
It was killing me. Yeah. So now I do it once a week for 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And it's such a blast because we get to have 2 guests on each show. We also have a really committed community in the chat, and they're committed to compassion, but also like elevation. They're sharing information, they're sharing books, etc. And I get to have enough time in the space to not only do these interviews, but to also contextualize the news. Mm-hmm. Like people can get their news from somewhere else, but come here to find out like why this matters, like what this is connected to, what this could continue as, etc. So those are the 2 like major things I've got going on. And always you can support my Patreon. It's $5 a month and you get incredible interaction with the community, as well as consistent exclusive content.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. So the only thing I want, or I hope, is that you keep the Clarence Thomas bit in the show.
I've elevated it to another level. I mean, it is Clarence, but
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've taken it, Davidson. I did research.
That was such a funny part. All right.
I did more research, and so now his conversation with Frederick is so much deeper and funnier, which is the hardest part for comics, because it's like you feel like you got to give up one to get the other.
Right. Yeah. So, it's all about trade-offs.
But I didn't.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much. Means a lot. I think I'm going to see you at the People's Forum for the panel show.
Yes! Oh my gosh, I forgot. That's what it is, being an independent. You just have a million things. So I have the Amanda Land Summit. So basically, my Amanda Land show, people were so like, you know what? We love doing this digital thing, but we want to meet each other in person. So I said, all right, I'll create a space for that. So the Amanda Land Summit is going down in New York City on September 19th, 20th, and 21st at the People's Forum. And yes, we do have people who have registered and are a part of the whole weekend of events. However, the panel that Davidson will be on is called Cracking Up the System, where we're bringing together socially conscious comics as well as organizers to talk about the state of things. And I'm really excited to have Davidson Boswell, to have Christina Brown. Also, we're going to have Claudia de la Cruz from the PSL and also from IFCO, as well as Angie Langdon, who is an organizer, a long lifetime organizer. And all of y'all are hilarious. And this will be open to the public. So this will be open to the public. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's going down on Saturday, September 20th at the People's Forum. So hope to see you all there. And thank you, Davidson, for blessing us with your presence.
Yeah, of course. Can't wait. All right, Amanda. So long. Thanks so much.
Bye.